welcome back to Smashing Heads Podcast. This is our recap for Double Agents, Episode 1. As always, my name is Zach, and I'm joined by my wife, Hannah.
Hey, what's up?
My best friend, Jake.
How is everybody doing tonight? We are here. We're back.
We didn't go anywhere. Let's be clear about that. We've been podcasting this entire time.
We've been on vacations. We've been around the world. We haven't been around the world. I definitely haven't, because if anybody does the traveling around here, it's you guys, and you never take me anywhere with you, which is still a problem.
Okay.
Both of you are fighting for best friendship when it comes to me, and until one of you guys takes me on a trip around the world.
I've been on trips with you, not around the world, but to Texas. Does that count?
That's what I'm waiting on.
I mean, we've been on significantly less trips this year than we normally do.
This is not about the amount of trips you guys have been on.
No, I'm
when
just
you're taking me
saying,
on
like,
one trip.
there's been less opportunity this year.
Yeah, I mean, we're in the
there's
middle
a
of
pandemic. Also, what trips do you think either of us are taking without the other that we would take you along for the ride?
I'd take you on a ride.
I wish you would.
Yeah, I will.
Bicycle, motorcycle, airplane.
We don't have any of those things.
You got a bicycle in the back, don't you?
I have a
No, we
motorcycle.
gave it to the guy that mows our lawn.
Was that payment for 1 week?
That is true. No, we
just gave it to him.
He's a nice guy, and he was like, how much you want for that bicycle? And I was like, Hannah doesn't ever ride it. You can just have it.
Oh.
The last person to ride it was you, Jake.
He's like a 50-something-year-old guy, and he's like, I'm going to give it to my girlfriend. And I was like,
yeah,
good for you.
Well, before we heard that, he was asking about it, and Zach came up to ask me if I wanted it, and I was like, yeah, just give it to him. He may have, like, a daughter or granddaughter he wants to give it to. And then, like, he gave it to him, and then Zach came back, and he's like, he said he's going to give it to his girlfriend, and I was like, that's not what I thought he was going to do with it.
Hey, that's fine, man.
Honestly,
Yeah.
probably not the route to go to get her a bicycle, because she has bad knees.
She bought it for herself.
Well, that's a bad
I
decision.
did. It also had a bad tire.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
But you can fix that.
The best route you could go is an inner tube, honestly. You can't swim either. So.
But we're not anywhere near water, so what would I do with an inner tube?
I don't know. There's a river about an hour down the road.
I mean, there's a river like 2 miles away, but you're talking about one specific river.
Yeah. That's a big one.
It sure is.
It's the Tennessee.
Yeah, the state's namesake.
We got a song called Tennessee River Run. Shout out to Daryl Worley.
No, we wrote it. We're the ghostwriters of that
Right.
song.
Well,
And Daryl Worley is just the face of the song.
well, you know, the opening lines of that chorus are, no, it's this. Yeah, that's the chorus. Worked all week, got it all done.
Yeah.
Let's make a Tennessee River Run.
You know, the thing the song's named after.
Yeah.
You know, there's a Tennessee River Run Festival.
That he
Not no more. Not this year there wasn't.
No, but usually it's like every first week of July.
If you guys are unfamiliar with Daryl Worley, the song you will probably know him
Have
by.
You Forgotten?
Have You Forgotten?
It's about 9/11.
It's about
which is
9/11.
not a funny thing.
No.
No.
But that is how you would know him, because
Yeah.
you've definitely heard that song.
Listen, the only reason Jake is talking about Daryl Worley is because he's from the hometown that we all grew up in.
Yeah.
I didn't grow up
Oh,
there.
yeah, okay. You say this
I'm
every
just
time
from
you lived there.
I lived there for a few years.
Okay.
He also has a cancer center.
He used to have a restaurant, too. So.
Just,
The Whirly Bird. Man, he was pretty good,
It was
too.
Whirly Birds.
Sorry.
Yeah, plural.
Well, that's not what we called it.
Well,
They had really good fries. I was upset when they closed.
So guys, like we said at the beginning, this is going to be our recap for Double Agents, episode 1.
Not a recap for Daryl Worley.
Can I say something?
Okay.
I don't know if you were going to get into this.
I might be.
Well, let me jump into it. Let me just help you
First.
out here.
Permission granted.
There are, especially going into this season, a lot of other challenge podcasts out there.
Yeah, it's like all the corporations have decided, you know what, it's our chance now.
So, we are firm believers in that, what's the saying? Something about tides and ships.
Okay.
Rising tides.
So that is a
I
quote.
like that you tried to reference it, but you didn't even know what it was.
No,
It's
but I
also-
believe in it.
It's a it's a quote. It's a quote that Wes has actually said, I believe, on Challenge Mania, and we're friends with those guys, and we've interviewed Wes. Wes was talking about just all of the different things covering the challenge, and this was like 4 seasons ago. This was before he came back from War in the Worlds.
War of the Worlds.
What did I say, on the Worlds?
War in the Worlds.
War in the Worlds.
War in the world.
So he said,
Wayland.
rising tides.
That's a cartoon. Wayland in the world. Wayland.
He said rising tides raise all ships, talking about everything that covers the challenge just brings up more spotlight to everything challenge related. So he's like, it's always a good thing, which I do actually believe that.
Yes.
Because here's the thing. We used, we're not going to necessarily name drop it, but we used to listen to a different challenge podcast because it was the only one we knew of, and we didn't really like it, and that's kind of why we started our own.
Yeah.
Well,
look, you still, all right. Everybody has a preferred taste.
Mm-hmm.
Correct? Mm-hmm. I would say
we're nacho cheese Doritos, which is the best taste.
Right.
I think Cool Ranch is better.
Hannah likes
my God. No.
They're good, but they're not.
I bet you like corn too.
I mean, I like.
I do. I like that when I eat it,
those are corn.
It comes out of my body the exact same way.
Those are corn chips.
I think that's the first time Hannah ever made a pooping reference.
Oh.
Did you knock my mic over?
No.
She just knocked Jake's mic over.
All right. Back on track.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know where you were going because you didn't know what quote you were trying to say.
Back on track. Listen, if you're here, you've been listening to us for a long time.
This last 5 minutes is a long time.
I thought for some reason you were going to go into the Olive Garden thing. When you're here, your family.
Oh, my God. Yeah. But you know what? That's true, though. If you're here,
your family.
Whether you've been here for the last 2.5 years or you've been here for, about 10 minutes at this point? 7 minutes. Your family.
By the way, Olive Garden just changed that to, it's not when you hear your family, it's just like, hey, we're family. They took out the you're here, so they're not discriminating against you when you're not at the restaurant.
Yeah.
Which is...
All right, let me finish my thought, guys.
What thought are you trying to get to? Cause
well, you guys, if you'll let me finish. So, this is primarily for those of you who are joining in for maybe the first time, or maybe you've come back. Maybe you've been gone for a while.
The re-return.
And you're returning.
On vacation.
You're the prodigal son.
Yeah.
Yep.
And you're returning home. Let me just lay out very clearly what we are. We are not experts.
No.
We are not, we get our stats wrong regularly.
Not on purpose.
Not on purpose.
But we do have a resident stat checker.
We do.
Paul.
Yeah.
You know what, man? We are fans of this show, and us three in particular are the best of friends. I consider you two my absolute best friends. And
which one of us is better?
What you are going to get in this pod is a raucous good time because there's something to be said about chemistry.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to get into, any weird science-like stuff, all right?
Weird
But there is something special that happens. It's not quite black magic. There's something special that happens when us three log into the same podcast setting here and just begin to go. And I guarantee, it's guaranteed, that this will be one of the most euphoric rides that you'll go on.
Good Lord,
and
did you read a thesaurus before we started this?
In your podcast listening experience. Even for me, it's sublime.
This is a speech that he wrote in his practice
There's
for
no
3
way he
weeks
wrote
and
this.
memorized.
And I hope you're ready
to
be catapulted into the stratosphere with us. Double
These
Ages.
words.
Yeah, so like he said, I just want to piggyback off that a little bit. When we started this podcast, we started it as the concept of we are just three friends talking about a show we love, and that was the goal all along. Is it's supposed to be conversational. It's supposed to be just kind of our take on how we viewed the episodes. We kind of all have our own thoughts. If you've listened for any amount of time, we all three wildly have different opinions on people and also different ways of taking notes and things like that. And so, we started this right before Final Reckoning, I believe. That was the first season we did.
July 4th.
Yeah.
It was.
And so...
Right after my divorce. So shout out.
Thank you.
Yep.
So, we started this, and, it is what it is. I was going to mention to you guys, before we jumped into the new season, because I do all the post-production, all that type of stuff, so I keep track of how many seasons we've done. Do you guys know what season we are on as far as, number-wise?
Like us?
Yeah, so we
guess?
we recap the current seasons, and then in between we recap other seasons. And so, do you guys have any clue?
5.
8.
This is number 9.
Oh dang, man! I wasn't even.
I had it
close.
right.
No, you didn't.
Yeah, like we've done 8 seasons, and this is 9.
Okay, I mean, okay.
That was the question, was it not? Did you not ask how many
what
seasons
is-
we've done?
I was meaning like, with the start of this one, sure, are you in?
What is 5 plus 5? 9.
Nope.
Got
Don't-
it.
Do not ask me math questions.
Exactly. So, yeah,
Hey.
this is our 9th season, and we're super excited to still be doing it. We still love the show. I will say we are very excited about this season in particular because we've kind of been in a drought, and also we've been recapping Fresh Meat 1 because that's what our patrons voted on. And let me just tell you, that season does not stack up to the new ones, even though it's got a great cast. The format is just dated at this point. And so we're excited to jump in and get this going. We actually have one more Fresh Meat podcast because this season premiered so quickly. So that Fresh Meat podcast will be dropping at some point this weekend. But before we get into that, I got to hit some plugs real quick. Then we'll get into Double Agents recap. One, follow us on social media at Smashing Heads on Twitter, at Smashing Heads Podcast on Facebook and Instagram. And then, honestly, most importantly, we got to give a shout out to all of our patrons over at patreon.com/Smashing Heads Podcast. A lot of them have been there since the very beginning of our Patreon, which we didn't start till a year or something in. And so I want to shout out to all those people who've stuck with us this whole time. And also, because we have a new patron since the last time we recorded, special shout out to Sarah, who joined. It was either yesterday or the day before. I don't remember exactly off the top of my head, but thank you for coming along.
She thought I had the best fantasy team.
She did, yeah. And that was something we did on Patreon exclusive. We did a draft of all of the players on this season, and then Jake's going to be keeping track of that.
And we're going to do a fantasy recap at the end of each episode.
Okay.
Like before we get into superlatives and stuff.
Okay, yeah, just remind me of that.
And I went about this totally like...
surgical.
Well, like...
Lethargic.
I'm giving points for stuff that maybe you wouldn't thought about. For example, Ashley's snake earrings.
You can't...
Oh my gosh. You
yeah.
cannot
Is
do
she
that
on your
because
team?
she's on
No,
your
but it goes-
team.
all right, let me-
She's on your
No,
team.
you know what?
Let's
She's-
save it. Let's save it. Let's save it.
Okay.
We'll save
You're
it.
going to like them.
Okay.
You're going to like them. Whoever has CT got a lot of points tonight.
I think that's Hannah.
Okay, so don't give me hell for, like, you know, the Ashley stuff, because she's gone. She doesn't give me any more points the rest of the season.
Yeah, and these are locked in for the
Fine.
season. So
okay.
again,
we'll get there.
Patreon.com/Smashing Heads Podcast. It does directly support the show. We do a lot of exclusive content on there. There are 3 different tiers currently, and they have different levels of rewards and things like that. So check that out. Again, they get all of our stuff early. They get all of it ad-free, plus exclusives. And then when we do interviews, we try to work in as many, if not all, of the questions as possible from our patrons. So check that out. And, from there, if you enjoy the show, rate and review it on iTunes. 5-star ratings really do help. So please do that if you don't mind. And let's get into Double Agents, which we did say, I believe on our Instagram Live we just did, but not when we've been recording. Jake did not watch the special event from Monday night.
I did not.
Hannah and I actually watched it this afternoon. We didn't watch it earlier on, but it actually was pretty good. I expected it to be really boring or just like confessional-based talking, but it was like house footage.
It
and
was basically like episode 1 stuff.
It's all which I don't mind that they cut out of the main premiere.
Yeah, I was fine with that.
But it wasn't boring though. I'm glad we watched it.
No, I like when I found out Jake didn't watch it, I was like, you need to go back and watch it when you have time, because I feel like I got a lot of really good information about the rookies. I have a better feel for who to keep an eye out for during the season and who...
We got a lot of backstory on the rookies
Yeah.
that we wouldn't have gotten this episode.
But I didn't feel like I missed... I get that information was probably helpful and useful, but I didn't feel like I missed anything.
And I think
tonight.
I think that was on purpose. I think that they knew that, a lot of people wouldn't watch it, so they had to make a cohesive premiere that no matter what, you could just jump right into. So I think that was a successful way to do that, because you gave all the people that wanted the extra content, the behind the scenes, the drive up to the house, that type of thing. You gave them that episode if they want it, but you didn't have to watch that to get what was going on this season, right?
I feel like it was a good idea what they did with cutting this out and making it a separate like special episode, because then tonight when you watch episode 1, you don't have to go through all that exposition and feel like the first episode is kind of dragging. You're not really getting into any of the action.
It's basically the opposite of what Final Reckoning was, which was we didn't have an elimination until like episode 3.
Right.
And so, again, Justin Booth is back. We've talked about Justin Booth many times. We're a big fan of the way that he does things.
Glad he's back.
And so I think this is a good way to do this, because I do agree with Jake. I feel like if you didn't watch it, you still knew enough of what was going on.
Like, it's not that big of a deal.
But then we found out on that special that the guy from America's Got Talent, Joseph, right?
Yes.
He rode motocross in Texas, and so which doesn't really super apply, but it's a competitive sport, even though it's not super physical. And so we found that out. We found out that Nam was German, which I had no clue. I thought he was American. To be fair, I just thought he was. And then he starts speaking with this very German accent, and it really threw me.
I have a lot of thoughts about it.
Yeah.
Anne likes it.
Yeah.
I loved it.
Nam's a very pretty boy.
He's gorgeous.
So yeah, I mean, it was fun watching it, but it wasn't necessary. But I am glad we went back and watched it, because I wasn't sure if I was going to or not. Because we've also skipped all the trailers and stuff up until today.
What really struck me the most out of that entire special episode, and I think I don't know if you remember, I said something to you in the middle of it. Casey's confessionals in this special
outnumbered her talking time for the entire last season.
And it wasn't like recapping things that were happening. She was just talking, and I said, wow, Jake needs to watch this.
Even tonight's episode, Casey was more talkative than last season.
It's like she was a different person.
Yeah, barely.
But still.
And jumping forward a little bit, was one of the last people picked.
Yeah, but okay,
yeah.
So let's get into the actual episode. We did want to just hit that real quick. So was that whole thing we saw at the very beginning with TJ in the room with all the different faces popping up and like a map of the world? Do you think that's the intro to this season, or is that just for this one episode? Because we haven't had an actual intro. Again, we've been watching Fresh Meat.
It could be either or, but it really reminded me of the Fresh Meat intro where he's playing the video game and it makes it look like he's watching something. It just gave me Fresh Meat vibes.
Yes.
Also, he looked like a mafia boss in this.
Yeah, when did TJ start being so concerned about being so trendy?
It's cold in wherever they're at.
Yeah,
Iceland.
but
his walk looked different. You see how he was walking?
His hair, his clean cut, the aviators.
They're very playing up this like special agent James Bond style. Like, you are an agent and I am. There's specific lingo they're using in the season that they have not used in a while.
Like mission. And...
Yeah. So basically, the episode starts off with Corey dissing Josh, which
was funny.
I mean, yeah, we all knew that. And
TJ told the helicopter to hang loose.
Did he?
Yeah,
I didn't see that.
Give it a hang loose sign.
Yeah, I mean,
at
least, despite his outward appearance changing, he's still the same person.
Yeah,
because that's a very TJ thing to do.
Money doesn't change TJ. I almost said TJ Miller, but that is not the same person.
No.
TJ Lavin. So yeah, we get that. We get the German Nom, which I covered a minute ago, and then we get Nelson decides that he needs a nickname
to give himself a nickname.
Yeah, I know, and he's like, "What about Double Nelly or Double Nelly T?" And then he's like, "That's it, Double Nelly T."
I thought he said Double O Nelly T.
Did he?
Yeah,
I heard Double Nelly T.
Yeah, that's what I wrote down.
Guys, my ears ain't working.
I don't think he. I just don't feel like he put that together. But basically, right away, TJ lands in a helicopter. They come out. We get a daily immediately.
Like right off the bat.
But again, calling it a mission. The confessionals, they're calling it missions, which is what they used to do back in the day when it was Real World versus Road Rules, the challenge. Like, our mission for today.
Oh, yeah, they did call it mission.
It has not been that in a long time. If it has, it's not been on the actual show. That is a very old school term. I guess that's what they're going to do going forward. I feel like it plays into the agent vibe. Like, oh, they have a mission. That's really why they're focusing on that. And so the daily, it's called Mission Decryption. And it's basically just a huge gravel pile that's, 10 feet tall or something like that.
Uh-huh.
And then there's a pole in the middle. That's a color-coded ring. And there's only one of them, and you got to run back to your briefcase and then plug the wires in and get them in the right order, and whoever does it first wins. And you can't take the pole outside of this special circle. And it's just like, all right, well, whoever gets there first gets to look at it first. And then
they encouraged physical activity in this.
Yeah.
Like tackling and yanking it from each other. I liked that.
Very reminiscent of, wasn't it the first daily for Bloodlines? Where they
I don't
had the
remember.
buckets of water, and there's that, they got to climb up this, like, mud mound, and there's this just...
I only remember a handful of things from Bloodlines.
You don't
if I'm
remember
being
that?
honest. I don't.
Okay.
I haven't watched that season again. You watched it back.
I did.
I haven't.
Very underrated season.
That
Go
was
back and
Hannah's
watch
first
it.
season watch, and I don't
And
think...
I've not watched it
we have-
since.
The main thing I remember from that season is obviously when Abram loses his mind during his brother's elimination.
The main thing I remember is Jenna's dumb cousin talking about her dad's bakery.
There are some good moments on that season.
Yeah.
There are some of the biggest like flop competitors we've ever seen on that season.
Oh yeah, there were some awful competitors on there.
And so they basically start off and I mean
It's women's heat first.
Lolo just runs. I think Devin said she breaks the sound barrier. Like she is a legit, possibly the best female pure athlete we've ever seen on this show. We've said that about Theo because he was an Olympian, and like she is a gold medalist. She said the fastest hurdler in American history.
Female hurdler.
Well, did she say female? I didn't catch that. I thought she just said hurdler in general. But regardless, like she is not someone to mess around with when it comes to like physical stuff.
Yeah. When we did this fantasy draft, I believe she was my number 2. 3. She was my number 3 pick.
It was it was the earliest rookie picked, but I didn't blame you because like just from a competitive standpoint, like she's going to be good. The fact's going to be how long she can stay around. Because we've seen her on one other thing, and some other people watched her on Celebrity Big Brother and said she is a nightmare, which is good TV.
Right.
Just as a person, she's not someone you'd want to hang out with. So basically, you got to memorize the code. For some reason, Nicole Z starts helping Lolo.
That didn't make any sense to me. What was the point of that?
I don't know. Those are two of Jake's favorite people, so I'll let him weigh in on that.
Actually, not the biggest fan of Peanut Butter, which I'll always refer to her as. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, there was no explanation going into on that.
They didn't show anything beforehand of them like, hey, we're going to work together.
I don't even know that Peanut Butter got a confessional.
I think she did, but not about that. Not about it. Like, why she was doing it.
She got like a really quick one.
And it had to have been it. It was one really quick one.
And I will say, like, the other episodes kind of running together because we watched it earlier today, and I know she had some in that. But yeah, it's no real explanation as to why she did that. But we did get Darrell doing an impression of her, which was unexpected, but I welcome it. Darrell, I love Darrell. I think I think you'd be hard pressed to find people that don't like Darrell. Like, even if you, like, I don't know. Like, I don't know what you wouldn't like about him. Like, he was a back-to-back 4-time champ. Like, he won his first 4 seasons. And then he was paired with Cara Maria in Fresh Meat 2, and then left first right away.
Yep.
So, no Cara and Polly this season. No Bananas. There's some big names definitely missing out here. So, we get... as I have affectionately called it, Lee Ram. They're not Camroy. It's Lee Ram. And
all caps.
Yeah, all caps. And obviously they're a couple. I think in real life they just moved to Houston together.
But like at this point, episode 1, Leroy says that they're finally officially together. So I mean, like, we've seen stuff on social media of them kind of like being together.
Oh, no, they've been pretty open about it for a while.
Yeah.
It's funny. Jake and I interviewed Cam like 7 episodes into our podcast, The only thing we had to cut out afterwards is we brought up Leroy, and at the time they were not together, and she just like, I would just rather not talk about it, and I was like, all right, I'll just cut it out. And now look at them.
Yeah,
we knew it early on.
We saw it. We saw the
I think that they had kind of like flirted, but it fell apart, and so I was like, you know what? I was like, I'll take it out. Don't worry.
Sometimes it takes a little pain to see the true gain.
Is that what that movie with The Rock and Mark Wahlberg was about? Pain and gain.
Yep, that's it.
So, weirdly enough, I don't think anyone expected it. Aneesa wins the daily, and she is good at puzzles. Just like that's her strength, like right, like. I'm not trying to be like that is what she's good at. Like she's not the most physical person. She's not the best political person. She's good at puzzles. I think she would say that was her best. She is.
She's good at eliminations, is she not?
No, she's got a reputation for it, but we've gone over this many times. Jake has championed the call of that.
Yeah, she had a season where she kind of ran through eliminations, and that's about it. And this was very early on.
And then from there, it's just been
downhill.
She has a losing record in eliminations overall. But she has a reputation of being this like bruiser and enforcer, and it's not really backed up with what's actually happened. I will say, we said last season, possibly her best season as far as confessionals and reactions and all that type of stuff. So Aneesa wins. And then during the guys' heat, there's just not a lot's happening. Everyone's just running around wrestling. The most exciting thing that happened during the guys' heat is CT's trying to pull somebody off the pile, and he grabs somebody's shoe, and he throws it behind him, and he hits Wes in the face.
He, like, chunks it behind him.
And it was purely accidental. Like, he was not looking at Wes.
But it really nailed Wes straight in the face.
I liked the production angle on that, where they ran it back and did it again and slowed it down. And
you would have done that. People
People
listening may not know this. You're a tech savvy guy. You do a lot of production stuff.
Yeah,
it's your job.
It's my job. Yeah.
Is that the route you would have taken? Could you have done it better?
You know what? I'm not going to say that. I appreciate what they did, and I liked their choice. Whoever was directing that, good job.
God. You know what else I was really glad to see, or rather hear, was TJ's belly laugh. When he gets really tickled about something, he just can't stop laughing.
He did
about
think
it
was hilarious that Wes got hit in the face.
It was almost like Trivia Day, TJ.
Oh yeah, that's his happiest moments of the season. I really hope we have trivia this season. And so the guys' heat again. Not a lot happens. I think Devin thought he was going to get a check and win. Did not. But
I need an explanation on something.
Okay.
How did Jeyy's hair thin so fast?
Do you think it's thin, or do you think that is like tapered?
I don't look. He had it pulled back last season. I noticed he's got an undercut.
That's what I'm saying.
So that's not it. It's right here. It's
okay.
right in this top spot.
When you said that, I was looking at the sides.
So that's different.
Maybe that's why he had it long last season.
But it's right. He didn't cut this up. You can't.
Nobody can see what you're pointing at.
The top of my head, right here.
You just keep pointing
up towards the front, closest to the forehead.
The hairline.
But it ain't even that it receded. It thinned. Like it just looks extremely thin up there.
Maybe listen.
That happens.
He's in the midst of a pandemic,
in the span
too.
of like 8 months.
It's possible.
I don't even know if it's been 8 months since the last season filmed. It may be. It's close to it.
That's fast, right?
They call him the Quick.
No, I'm the Quick.
Oh.
I'm the Quick.
So yeah, I don't know. I didn't. You said that, and I was looking at the sides, so I didn't really look up top. I don't know. But what I was gonna say is, like last season, Fessy wins the first daily. I mean, he came out right away last season. It was like, oh, this guy's legit. Like, he's a good athlete, and he's also not as dumb as apparently they made him out to be on Big Brother. Like, that was his role. Like, oh, he's a dumb jock. And we interviewed him. I didn't get that vibe from him at all.
He's a great in the making.
I think he has potential to for sure be. Yeah.
He's in the process of becoming one of the great ones.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we'll see how this plays out in the long run, but he's got all of the like physical tools you would want in something like this, especially in this era of the challenge. So yeah, Fessy wins, and then TJ has to announce, but there's only one winner overall, and Aneesa goes, "Oh, what's Fessy?" And TJ's like, "They won by a full minute," and they're like, "It's Aneesa."
She couldn't believe it.
Yeah, I mean, it's they didn't give us times, which
you hate that.
I hate
that.
it.
You're just stiff for that.
I wanted.
You gotta have time.
That is one thing I do appreciate about Fresh Meat is every daily they've given us this person finished in these times.
Yeah,
and that used to be a thing, and maybe that's why I'm nostalgic for it and I like it, is because that is how it used to be.
You don't care if it's 49 minutes or 4 minutes. You need a time.
I like the times because then there's nothing to dispute. Because sometimes people are like, "Oh, it's the editing that made it look like this." And if you got times there, even the people who are on the show would be like, "Well, that wasn't what happened. They didn't beat me by 34 minutes or whatever." And we've had it in finals even where they're like, "Oh, and the winner is," and then they don't tell us by how much. And you're like, "Well, that's annoying because this is a timed final." But basically, we find out that Aneesa gets to pick her partner from anyone. It doesn't matter, even Fessy's on board. And he's like, "Oh, by the way, this is double agents. You're paired up," which we knew going into this season it was pairs. And so right away I was like, she's either going to pick Fessy or Darrell.
And the thing is, Fessy did not want her to pick him, but Darrell was totally down for it.
That's the type of guy Darrell is, though. He's like, it doesn't matter. He's like, we got it.
Yeah.
And I think we talked in the last thing that we did, which was the cast breakdown, or it may have been the Patreon podcast we did with the draft. I think Darrell might be the oldest person that's ever been on the challenge. Mark Long is right there with him. He's 41.
Really?
I don't know where you were when we had this conversation on the podcast.
I mean, it could just be that my brain won't accept it.
She's playing Candy Crush.
I haven't played Candy Crush in like 7 years.
So basically she gets to pick her partner, and I don't blame her. I mean, she picked Fessy. I don't blame her at all. Like, I think that is...
Yeah, that would be my first pick, for sure.
There's only about 2 or 3 people you would pick, and Fessy is right there, and I don't think anybody would blame you. Now, he's not super excited about that. We'll get more to that later. And then TJ just announces, "Oh, hey, well, the rest of you just pair off. And then that's your partner. Go stand by your partner." And so no deliberation, no real talking. Most of them just start going. And then immediately Corey and Tori are beside each other, and they're like, "Let's go." So I'm just going to read through all the pairs real quick.
Well, real quick, since we're on the topic of Aneesa winning, I got to shout out patron Keri.
I haven't been in our Slack group.
I haven't, but I got an alert that I was like tagged in a comment she made, and she just said, "@Jake, please come sit at my table." Keri's a big Aneesa fan.
Keri is, and also...
so I imagine she had to be on a real high tonight.
At Challenge Mania, I believe it was Philadelphia, she printed out your head on a thing and brought it to Aneesa.
With a wink.
With a wink.
And a full mustache.
And then told Aneesa your stance on her.
Yeah.
And then Aneesa gave you the finger. And
and it's
then took it. She never gave it back to Keri.
We thought it ended up on Final Reckoning. I mean, on War of the Worlds 2 or whatever it was.
It's actually a real shame that we haven't had a chance to talk to Aneesa about this.
Yeah, I made her laugh last season because I sent her a meme making fun of Nelson when she was partnered up with Nelson, and she's like, "That's really funny," and I was like, "Thank you," because it's one of my favorite meme formats, but it's DW from Arthur staring at the door, and it's like, "This sign can't stop me because I can't read." But it was like Aneesa making a genuine mistake, and it was like Nelson, and it's a good one. Shout out to Arthur.
Yeah, it's a good one.
So
and Wishbone.
Yeah.
That's I like that one.
I'm serious.
I did too.
Serious as a heart attack.
Woo-wee. So Aneesa, Fessy, Tori, and Corey. Then you got Teresa and Jeyyy, which is an odd pair. Because as far as we know, they don't have any history together.
Yeah.
And then you got Cam coming up to CT as like, "Hey, let's be partners." Because Cam and Leroy want to split up.
Mm-hmm.
And then
CT just yells at her back, "Tell me why, tell me why."
I don't blame him. Like, I think she needs to give a reason. And she's just like, "Okay, we love Cam. We've interviewed Cam." She's like, "I'm killing Cam. I'll do all this." And then he just walks off. And she took that very personally. And it goes back to that like Michael Jordan meme, which I may need to put out after this, is when CT decided that he's going to walk off. And she's like, "And I took that personally." And,
That's good, Zach.
yeah, they called me the meme king for a reason.
Yeah.
No one's ever called me that.
But they should.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
And so CT leaves.
Matter of fact, when we get done here, Nope. Never mind. People are going to take that. I was going to say she should refer to you as king, but then we're going to have people being like,
Oh, God.
whoa, hold on a second. Right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean.
I know what you
You're
mean.
the meme king, so king for
Yeah.
short. Not because you're king of the house. She's
Hell
queen
yeah.
of the house. But
Well, if
you're the
anybody,
meme king. So.
anybody that knows us knows that I'm the boss always.
Well, this is your house.
This is my house.
Then we got Nani and Kyle, which is an interesting pair.
Except Kyle compared himself to Nani during the women's heat.
Again, though, that was a confessional after all this happened, after he knew she was his partner. And so then we got Devin and Peanut Butter, which is a weird pair, I think.
Yeah, that one really threw me for a loop.
I saw you turning in circles after it happened.
And then Natalie and Wes.
Literal loop.
Natalie and Wes, and we were all like, "Oh, that's a good pair."
Yeah, that's a solid team.
I think
I saw you turn rock hard after that one, Han.
he caused himself to do that. Do you like that one?
That's pretty good.
Yeah,
He just spit all over his mic.
it's his own
my
mic.
mic.
Yeah. So
Threw up on that thing yesterday.
what?
You're both disgusting.
I didn't even say anything. So then you got Natalie and Wes, like we said, and I believe we all think Natalie, even before the elimination, was possibly the rookie to watch in this as far as from a female perspective. Even with Lolo being an Olympian, like Natalie apparently was awesome on Survivor and is built like a rugby player. Like she would destroy anyone.
But also, in just a quick comparison, we've seen Lolo on a Champs Versus season.
Mentally, she's not all
She
there.
can't.
Yeah.
She can't hang.
Yeah.
So Natalie
was abandoned on an island.
Natalie seems to have enough mental edge to be able to handle all of this, on top of being physically a threat.
You got something to add to that? You cracked yourself up in the middle
You
of
literally hung from the ceiling when...
it. So
I can't deal with you right now.
Natalie West, and you had Darrell and Amber B, which is from Big Brother, which we don't really know anything about her. Then you got, I wrote down Gabby and
Leo.
it changed it to Lip for some reason.
Nice.
But yeah, Gabby and Leo, which they were gonna be a target in my mind just because they're both kind of small, even though they both are in shape. And Leo is obviously a wrestler.
And Gabby's a personal trainer.
Yeah, but I don't think she's cut out for this from what we've seen so far. I guess she was crying day one about just.
There are some fantasy points involved there.
Yeah, she was crying about like
There are.
Yes.
about
are.
like
I
what
think
was
I might
going
have
on.
Gabby on my team.
They may not be good points, though.
Yeah.
They may
Okay.
be negative points.
She was upset about how hard it was already. It's been a day and a half or something
Yeah.
at that point. Then you had Josh and Cam, which is a very interesting pick for Cam. I think
Well-
it's a bad judgment.
Yeah, but also it could be, since CT didn't want to pair up with her, he may have been one of the only guys left. And I mean, like, if you've got
Apparently, Nam was left.
maybe.
I just think you never want to pick Josh. If you didn't watch our draft or listen to our draft on Patreon,
We didn't want to pick Josh.
the penalty for not picking your next player in time was that Josh was automatically on your team.
But would Josh be a better pick than Leo for Cam?
I don't know, but I'd say we know what Josh's weak points are.
Out of the people the guys we do know about, Josh is the one you least want.
Yes, and here's the thing: the only thing I can think in this is that she knows that he has a built-in alliance of 3 other players from Big Brother,
Yeah.
and so that gives her numbers. And
On top of her own alliance.
And Josh is a big guy, but we've seen it. He's not. He one lets his emotions get the best of him at a drop of a hat. 2, thinks he is one of the smartest players to ever play the game. And in reality, he is like Mr. Potato Head and doesn't have anything inside of him except other parts that don't matter. And then on top of that, he has one of the most embarrassing eliminations that we've seen which also made one of the biggest like feats of elimination we've ever seen. When why did I just lose his name? Jordyn. When Jordyn beat Josh in something that he should have won, no questions.
Well, if you're gonna rag on him that much, at least
I will.
At least mention some of his strengths. He's apparently
he's a great crier, excellent
swimmer, but that may not come.
No, there's some swimming stuff this season.
Okay, well then there you go. Like
pick him. He's a great swimmer.
No, I'm just saying like he does have at least some strength.
You know what it is, Jake? You know what it is? She's envious of it, and so that's why she's talking him up. Because
Stop it.
She's a Dunbar stand.
No, she can't swim.
You can't swim.
We know that he's a really good swimmer because he and Nani were paired up for something a few seasons ago, and he had her like hold on to him, and he just swam back for them because he's from like Miami, so he said that he just swims all the time.
Yeah. I mean, again, like great, he's a swimmer, but I still think he is low on the tier.
We talking about Josh still?
Yeah.
Oh man, he's. No.
So that is something that can come in handy for Cam because we've seen her in swimming challenges and she's not very good at that either.
I don't remember, but see, she's from Jamaica and like there's beaches everywhere down there.
There's also sharks in the water.
Oh well, there's sharks in the water in the rivers around here sometimes, but that doesn't mean anything. Is that why you can't swim?
It's the sharks.
It's the river sharks.
No, I'm not afraid of sharks.
So then you have Leroy and Casey, because basically Josh and Casey just kind of traded with Cam and Leroy. And then possibly the most interesting pair, which was as short-lived as it could have been, CT and Ashley, which I don't blame CT for picking her.
No, and that's who he wanted.
I don't know if it's who he wanted, but it made sense.
I mean, my initial thought is like, oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I started clapping.
Yeah.
There was an audible clap in the room.
That was when you got rock hard, though.
Afterhand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
can't deal with you.
You got Ashley and CT, which we all like. Just from even if you don't like Ashley for whatever reason, and we're named
she's
after
a
CT,
champ.
And she's good TV.
I'm not an Ashley fan, but I did see that being a strong team.
Except that it put a target on both of them.
Mm-hmm.
So then from there, you get the powerhouse of Big T and Joseph, which on paper. Listen, we talked about it in Instagram Live. We've talked about our feelings on here. Big T might be the best person in the world. She might be the sweetest woman we've ever met. Here's the thing.
I don't know why
she doesn't bring anything to the challenge.
And here's my thing. They even had a confessional for her. One, she called Joseph Jacob.
Yeah.
2, she even listed off what she brought to the table for her team. And what she listed was that she's a really good friend, and everybody in the house really likes her and thinks that she's really entertaining.
Yeah, nothing that matters in the challenge.
And I was like, that's not going to help you at all in anything pertaining to this show.
She's very sweet, but in a very naive way, because we even saw last season when she was like going around when she had some power.
Wes and Bananas took advantage of her.
No, not that. Like the girls in like the club.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
She was like trying to cut deals, and they're like, yeah, sure. This is playing up for TV. And it's just like, they everyone in the house, from what we've seen, even though they all like her, it seems like they look at her like your little sister that's coming along for the big game.
Mom said she had to come too.
And so you're like, oh, Big T's got something she wants to talk to you about. And you're like, okay. And you don't take it serious. Yeah. And you don't see her as a threat in the game. And I think she's one of the weaker athletes in the game from what we've seen. And just from a political perspective, she hasn't provided anything. From an intimidation perspective, she hasn't provided anything. And we were a little confused why she came back last season, but we were like, all right, she went home second or whatever. Maybe there was something there we didn't see. And then we saw her stick around for a while, because the whole skull thing kind of let some of these players hang on, because, sometimes big names are going into eliminations early on because you want to get that skull. And I think all three of us are on the same page that she seems a very nice person. She seems like she might be your best friend, but she does not bring anything to the challenge that would help you win a challenge. She's not doing anything as your partner, if you picked her, that you're like, I'm psyched about that. Am I wrong?
No, you're not.
Am I wrong?
No.
I'm not against her, but it's just like, we've seen people like this on the show.
I think Big T is really super cute. I do think she has some funny moments, kind of.
No, I don't even think she's funny.
But here's the thing. This is not the show for her.
Exactly.
Like, she could be on a different type of show, and she could be like the star.
She might be great on Are You the One? Or X on the Beach, or something like that.
Put her on a show where the sole purpose for attention is not competitive or athletic ability, but personality.
Yeah, and
let her have a show where she can just show her personality and be entertaining and just take the spotlight.
See, I'm over here. I don't even think she's entertaining.
But you would agree that would be the type of show for her.
Sure, put her on that show.
Yeah.
Entertainment Tonight.
Yeah.
Yep, that's
She's
the one.
bringing you cat videos, things like that.
That may be what works for her.
It may
Let's
be.
put Big T on Entertainment Tonight.
A show.
She's a new
good.
host.
A show that was in
You know
its
what?
heyday in the 90s.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's the one.
Yeah.
So, and then from there, you had Lolo and Nam, which probably could be the most athletic team of everybody.
My note on this team was, holy crap.
Thank you.
She actually...
What?
She holy crapped when it happened.
And then you got Nelson and Amber M, which I think she might be the weakest rookie female. She's
Which one is she?
She's the very small one from Are You the One? Not the British ones.
The other one.
She's American. She's Amber
she's
M.
the one with the brown hair?
Not the girl with the curly hair that's paired up
No,
with
the
Jarrell.
one with the brown hair.
Sure. I don't remember.
Straight brown hair?
Probably. She's the smallest person from what we've seen out of the rookie class.
Yeah, I think I know which one you're talking
And
about.
she's just very petite, and she's on from Are You the One, which was not a competitive show in the sense of what the challenge is, so we'll see. And then you got Michi and
Liv.
yeah, but it changed it to Love. It did not like Michi's name either, which we debated on our Instagram Live if it's Michi or Mechi or whatever you said.
Mecky.
I don't know
He
what you
said
said.
Mecky.
I did not say Mechi. I said
one-
Michi.
I
for the
thought-
show.
One of you two last week said Mecky.
I think last week I might have.
I think it's Mechi.
Because it's like mechanical. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, he said in the special episode, he's like, "Hey, my name is Michi."
Yeah, that's what I thought.
La-di-da-di-da. And I was like, "Oh, it's Michi."
yeah, and he's a singer. And by the way, I saw a stat that showed who had the most followers and all that. I think he's like number 2 on the guys. Like, he is a big follower.
Really?
Yeah.
That's pretty impressive.
He's a musician. Oh, and one other quick thing is, so this is Big T's 3rd season. She has the least amount of Instagram followers out of any of the girls. She has like 16,000 total. And some of these are in like hundreds of thousands.
that says a lot because like
that's almost Shaylee numbers.
because like I personally know a girl. She's freshman
You
in
know
college.
a girl?
Freshman in college, and she has 9,000 followers herself, and she's like from here. I worked with her, and I was like, "How did you do this?"
Yeah, Big T's been on 3 seasons of the challenge and been on other TV shows and has 16,000 followers, and it's just like maybe again, followers don't mean it all, but it is like, oh, well, maybe these are the people that enjoy you because you follow people you like most of the time, correct? Yeah. And so it's just like you're not even bringing stuff that people want to follow, and it's just like Kyle's killing it. Kyle's got a lot, but I think Michi was number 2 for the guys. So we find out after this, Fessy and Anissa are the quote double agents, and then what happens is all the people that lost, they can confer, they can talk it out, they'll have a deliberation, but everyone is going to vote in secret for the first team that goes in, which is very reminiscent to Cutthroat, which was a season that we all liked.
That was the season where like each individual person went in and like put in their vote anonymously, and then like came back and they were like, "Oh, I voted for so and so," and they really didn't.
Yeah, and we find out that there's a twist to this, but basically the mob gets to throw in one group, one team, and then the double agents gets to decide who goes against them. And we have the same twist that has happened in the last few seasons, or maybe just last year, where the double agents can actually throw themselves in. And so if it's a weak team, and you got to get a skull to go to the final, there's a chance that may happen again. And so that's one of the twists. There's a few twists coming on. But before we get into anything else, let's take a quick commercial break, and we will be right back. we are back, and we get back into the house after this daily and after all the teams are picked and all that. And basically Wes and Natalie are having a private conversation. Wes kind of tells her that he has an alliance. He said literally with every dude in the house.
Do you think he was lying to her?
I don't know. I don't think he was lying necessarily. Wes does have a lot of pull, except that a lot of people don't trust him at this point.
Yeah.
So she's asking if she should be intimidating because she knows who she is. She knows she's a good competitor.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, let's lay low. He's like, let's let this go on for a week or so. He's like, and then you show them what you are. So then people are scared of you. Like, you don't want to put a target on your back right away. But I think people already kind of knew that she was a threat.
I mean, you can look at her and be like, oh, compared to the other girls, she's a lot bigger.
Yeah.
Probably a lot stronger.
She's for sure a lot stronger than a lot of the girls. But she may be the strongest girl in the house for sure. I mean, I think Lola may be the better athlete, but...
pure strength-wise, you think Natalie has it?
Well, and another strong girl, Casey,
mm-hmm.
I don't remember what... this is one of the few confessionals she had tonight. Don't remember what she was talking about. You know who she reminds me of?
No.
Think about Justin Bieber in his teenage years.
Okay, where is this going?
Because she had the T and the chain.
Did she?
And then just put longer hair pulled back in a bun on Bieber at that age.
I don't see what you're talking about.
I see it. It's right here.
Yeah, you're pointing to your head again, and I don't know what it means. I'm not, like, sure, maybe there's some people that, tweet at us if you...
Maybe.
If you,
I think she looks like...
I can't see it.
I don't see it at all.
I think she looks like Baby Bieber.
Baby Bieber.
Yeah.
I'm just going to have to let you hang out on a limb on that one because I can't agree. Usually I'll agree with you.
Hey, he's handsome.
Okay. I wasn't debating that. So at this point, it was brought to our attention that Ashley and CT are the only team of 2 champions, which, congratulations if you knew that already. We weren't thinking in those terms.
Also, CT had a Kevin Federline look going on.
You did say that.
I did.
And I said at that point, CT does wear some things that if it was anyone else, you'd be like, what are you doing? But it's because of CT, you're like, he's great.
He's earned the right.
Yeah. And so they are the only team with 2 champions. The only other 2 champions in the whole house are Wes and Darrell, which is kind of strange to think about, especially because Darrell hasn't been around in a while. And after that, they start showing people getting ready to go to a night out, and I was like, no way. I was like, we're in the midst of a pandemic. They had to quarantine all these people pre-flights and all that to get out here. So there's no way they're going out. And it turns out going out this whole season is going to be in like a bubble in their backyard where they bring in a DJ and just have drinks.
Super cool looking joint, though.
Yeah. I honestly...
Oh, you're not impressed?
No, it's not that. It's just, it's in theory a good idea, but also it's just kind of weird when you think about it.
I don't mind it because I didn't think about it going into the season, but so much of where a lot of the drama builds up in these past few seasons.
And fights. Drunk fights.
Just people like getting into it. We saw Josh stand up on the bar in the other place and yelling at Chris, and you had the weird Nani and Casey thing with Anissa, and stuff happens when they're out partying and whatever. And so it is a big part of the show that I didn't think about going into this whole quarantine type scenario. That it is what it is. I don't mind that they did it. I think that it's good for them for being responsible and not just setting these people wild out in the streets.
Well, they can literally do whatever they want to do, right? You ain't got to worry about getting kicked out of this club.
It'd be really weird if they got kicked out of there. Yeah. What are the odds that someone gets kicked out of the fake bar?
1 in 10.
If anybody finds a way.
That's pretty good odds.
If anybody finds a way, it's Josh.
Yeah, I think Josh would be, maybe, or Lolo.
Uh-huh.
Does she drink? Do we know if she drinks?
I don't know.
I guess we'll find out.
Yeah, we didn't see that tonight.
We don't know her personally, so.
Hey, you know who's not getting kicked out?
Dunbar.
No, that guy from AGT, Joseph.
That's because
he fell asleep on the couch.
Let me tell you something. When you're tired, when I'm tired,
all I want to do is go to sleep.
I can just drop and
roll. Stop and drop.
Conch out?
No, that is a type of shell.
I can drop and knock out anywhere.
There we go.
conch.
You know. Let me. I got a quick aside about conch. So, we have some friends that.
We got a few.
Yeah. Nick is one of them. He lives in Memphis now.
Oh, shout out.
And our other friend Dylan, who went to school with him. I don't know why you're looking confused. Okay.
Yeah.
Where's
it's been a while.
Is this going where I think it's going?
I don't know.
Yep.
But they used to do a thing at like their high school football games and basketball games where they would bring a conch shell and they
like
would
a real one.
They would blow into it, and it was just like their spirit thing. And they did it at one game, and they posted about it on social media. And I believe they got either suspended or detention because they said that was a euphemism for female genitalia because this podcast is for the kids. And they said it was they're like, you're trying to say a word that starts with P. And they're like, no, we are not. And they're like, we just think it's funny to blow in a shell and whatever. And they got in big trouble for that.
That's not what I remember happening.
Oh, man, I never heard this story.
Yeah.
What I remember was the...
Oh, man.
What a great
hand.
So,
Yeah.
no, Nick gave the conch to his younger brother, Monch.
Whose nickname is Monch.
Monch.
Yeah.
And Monch and his best friend Logan, who was my best friend, the three of us were together all the time. And so they took the conch to a football game at the rival school.
Yeah.
And then they got in trouble with the current youth pastor of our church.
Is that what it was?
Who saw it on social media and told them that they were kicked off of...
That's what it was.
They were kicked off of the worship team because he said that it was a euphemism for that. And they were like, you're a moron.
Yeah. It was.
Everybody hated that guy.
It wasn't detention. That's what it was. They got in trouble outside. And it was like, this is very stupid. And so, yeah, it is funny that his little brother's nickname is Monch. Shout out to Monch.
Man, I miss Monch.
And so, after the night out, we get a very emotional speech from Cam at the breakfast table. She's there with Anissa. She's there with Nani, and then Ashley. Surprisingly, Ashley, who she turns on later in this episode. And she's just talking about, her family and how her grandma was an immigrant. Again, like I said, I believe it's Jamaica. It was either Jamaica or the Bahamas, but I think when we interviewed her, she told us it was Jamaica. And, she was saying she has to... thank you. She said she has to be, like, the strong person, and Nissa's like, yeah, it's hard always being the person that's there for everyone else, and then when you need something... Thanks, Jake. You can't... There's no one there for you. And so then they get this big group hug. It's a nice moment. Cam's talking about generational curses.
Breaking generational curses.
We're like, she's preaching. And
she took us to church.
And so then right after that, Cam's like, we need to get all the champs out of here. Anyone who's a champ needs to get gone. And which is CT, West, Darrell, and Ashley.
Went from talking about generational curses to getting rid of the old generation.
Oh
my God.
Wow. Okay.
She's going to prophesy next episode.
And
open the floodgates.
Yeah. So after that, CT and Ashley know their names being thrown around. CT basically just decides to interview the entire house one-on-one and is like, you hear my name? You hear anybody voting for us? And he says he knows people are, and he wants to see who's lying to him.
Which I mean, I understand what he's doing to see, who's going to lie to my face, who can I trust, who can I not trust. But also, everybody kind of took that as him kind of freaking out and being really nervous, which I don't necessarily...
I could see it both ways.
I don't know that he was really nervous. I do feel like he was really just trying to like get a feel for the other people in the house because he doesn't know a lot of these people.
I could see it coming off as like paranoid, or you think you're going in or something. Which he was right.
I think that's how most people took it.
Yeah. I will say, we get into the deliberation, and CT wants to talk first, and we love CT. I don't think his speech helped him at all. I feel like his speech basically just...
I think it made it worse.
I think it doubled down on people thinking he's scared he's going in.
His voice was shaking a lot.
And it didn't help that a couple of the rookies started going right back at him. Including the America's Got Talent guy was like, well, why are you saying this? Do you scared? Or something like that. Mm-hmm. And then you got Leo going into... And Leo's was a little more playful at first. He's like, he's like, you're huge. I'm intimidated by you. He's like, but also I flip guys like double your size for a living or whatever.
Which was the line from the trailer that came out when I was like, all right.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then
Leo's 5'7".
After Leo piped up, CT pointed at him. He's like, well, I'm going to vote for you.
Which was funny.
It was funny, but also I think it just hurt him even more.
Yeah. It again, CT, he knew it was coming. And I think he was just like, I've got to try to get ahead of this and swing the room. And it did not work at all. And also, from what we saw, the only other people that talked were Cam and Leroy, and they basically all just turned it back on CT again.
Yeah.
And I'm sure other people talked and they just edited it out, but it did not help his vote at all. And so at this point I wrote, the voting's definitely leaning towards CT and Ashley. I was like, but maybe Leo and Liv, like maybe CT can swing some people. And then the next thing we see is Liv crying, which goes back to what you were talking about earlier.
Gabby.
Gabby. Liv's the other British girl, right?
Yeah. Yes. Liv came to console Gabby.
That's what it was. Who's Gabby partnered with?
Leo.
Okay, well then I just wrote it down wrong earlier, so I got to go back and check my notes. I don't know these new people very well.
Gabby is the blonde.
Yeah, I know their faces, but I just got them two confused. Okay, so Liv is with Michi. That's what it is. Mm-hmm. And so Gabby's crying.
This scene made me feel like she might not be cut out for this.
Yeah, I mean, at this point,
you shouldn't be crying this early.
Nothing has happened that should be wearing you down emotionally.
Give it about 3 or 4 weeks, and then you should start having breakdowns.
The worst thing that's happened is CT. Well, CT said, I'm going to vote for you. And CT. And who's there to console her? Big T and Liv, the UK trio, which I think...
I didn't even remember that scene. I was just going to answer Big T.
Yep.
Yeah. Also, I think Gabby was wearing an Alabama sweatshirt.
Yeah, I pointed that out because I kept seeing
she
it.
Literally pointed when that happened.
Well, it kept saying Alla, and then she would cross her arms, and then finally she.
And you thought it said Baster.
No, she moved her arm enough where I could make it out, and I said, "Is she wearing an Alabama sweatshirt?"
There's a lot of biblical references. We started off with a prodigal son. Or was that on Instagram? I don't even remember.
No, that was very beginning of the episode. So we're just going to bring people to Jesus tonight. It was weird to me that she was wearing an Alabama sweatshirt.
She's a big Nick Saban fan.
What would not have been weird, Han?
I don't know. I feel like the only people.
Colorado State sweater.
That would be less weird.
No,
why?
No, that's way more. Alabama college football is the #1 college football team.
They're going to win another national title this year.
They have been the dominant college football team for the last 20 years. It would be weird if they had a Colorado State jersey or something.
I get that, but the only
it's like the Lakers or the Dallas Cowboys of their Yes.
I feel like it's not on that level.
Of their sport,
yes,
they are of their sport.
The New York Yankees,
yes,
the Dallas Cowboys,
the Los Angeles
Lakers.
But in terms of popularity,
FC Barcelona,
just
Manchester United. We don't know anything about soccer.
Not necessarily just confined to college football. But just across the nation, across the world, any sports fans of anything, people wear Chicago Bulls and Lakers jerseys for fashion.
That's what she was doing.
I know, and but it was so weird to me because I've never seen anybody wear Alabama gear for fashion. It's only been very Southern people.
Yeah,
this is a wild conversation. So you think it would have been less weird?
I think you're very severely misunderstanding how big of a thing Alabama football is.
I understand Alabama football
You think it would have been less weird for her to have a Colorado State
which is a very obscure school, all things considered.
We talked about this school not too Miami, Ohio. Yeah. Miami of Ohio. It would have been more regular and not so abnormal for her to have a Miami of Ohio sweater on.
University of Miami, Ohio.
Than a Alabama Crimson Tide.
The #1 team in that whole league, basically, if you consider college football a league.
Deep Southerners.
No, it is the national team.
Let me finish my sentence.
Roll Tide.
Deep Southerners are the only people I've ever seen
That's 'cause you live in the
actually
South. Deep
wear
We live in the
Alabama gear.
That's like New Yorkers saying, is the Statue of Liberty the only national landmark on the planet?
I feel like that was not anywhere close to what I was saying.
It makes as much sense as what you've been trying to say.
It threw me for a loop. It was weird for me to see.
Apparently, it short-circuited everything. Broke her.
God.
It was a weird
Oh my
sight. It was a
God.
weird sight. I couldn't get over it. I still can't get over it. Is Alabama fashion?
Oh, what kind of a question even is that?
There's no way it can be fashion.
Sure it can.
This is the
No,
most
no way.
abstract question you've ever thrown out there.
And you're in fashion, Han.
Literally.
You work at a boutique.
A beauty. the fact that like, okay, let's be clear here. Out of the three of us, Jake and I are very more plugged into the sports scene than you would be, right? Let's agree on
It's
that.
not a shot. It's just
not.
what it is.
It's what it is.
No,
No. Hold on.
Listen,
Let me.
This does not require. This is not a geography answer here.
It's not a geography question.
It's
I was
not
just gonna say, like, I don't watch college football nearly as much as I used to. I just don't have the time for it.
Well, we don't either, but that doesn't change the fact that it is the number one most dominating team for at least the last 25 years.
I'm not arguing that. I know that they've been
Okay, so
national
the
champions
whole
for
thing you're
years
arguing
and years
is
and
just
years.
an abstract thought of, is Alabama fashion?
So
Yes!
they are the most.
That's what I have a problem with.
They are the most nationally recognized college football team on the planet.
Yes.
On the planet.
But are they fashion, though?
That's what bothers
in
me.
the same
How are they
sense that, like,
fashion?
It is a sweatshirt. They are not only sold in Alabama.
It's the
Yes,
same
they
reason
are.
that non. All right,
We gotta move on.
we are.
I can't believe
I
that
can't
derailed
wrap my head
the
around
whole thing. Okay.
But she said, Zach, that Miami of Ohio would have been less weird.
No, I said Colorado State would be less weird.
It's the
both
same
of 'em.
difference. It's the same difference.
You are goofy, Han.
Listen, I may go and enroll at the University of Miami, Ohio, tonight.
What?
What does that have to do with anything?
I'm going to bring more notoriety to it.
From your perspective, Alabama needs all the marketing they can get.
Yeah, because why would anyone?
Okay, so Anissa and Fessy go into the chamber, which is where everyone casts their vote. And at this point, we're like, okay, something's coming. I honestly figured, I was like, they're going to show who voted for who, so they kind of know where some alliances lie. And then that's exactly what happened. They showed them who was the, quote, compromised agents, which was CT and Ashley. And then they showed who all voted for him. And I counted really quick. I didn't pause it or rewind it or anything. But it looked like 24 people out of the 30 voted for CT and Ashley. So that
Which means the only team... CT and Ashley don't count because they were the ones that were voted to go into elimination. That means the only team that voted, that didn't vote for them, was
Oh my God.
was Wes and Natalie.
She's on a roll. She did this to you when we were watching live.
Yes. Mm-hmm. This was the point I was making.
I know, but you've been talking way more than the two of us.
Jake. Who was the one that just... I'm not even going to start it. Okay. So, yeah, Wes and Natalie, CT and Ashley, and then at this point, Fessy and Anissa were the only ones that did not vote for the compromised agents, which Hannah was the only one that realized and pointed it out.
Were there any teams that voted for CT and Ashley that you were surprised by?
Oh God.
There was 24 people.
No, I mean, like, yeah, that's basically the entire house. I was surprised to see that Kyle voted for them.
Devin. It doesn't surprise me. I thought Wes might have reached into like Devin and some of those people, but it doesn't surprise me from a gameplay perspective because you think your vote's secret and you're like, yeah, like these guys could beat me in a final. Like, there's no reason not to vote him in at this point. And so after that, weirdly, on the way into the crater, which is the name of where all the eliminations are going to happen.
By the way, one of the cooler looking elimination sets.
Yeah, it does look really nice.
It looks like a scene, which I haven't seen the movie, but it looks like from that movie Arrival.
I want to watch that.
Okay, cool.
You want to watch it together sometime?
All right, let's do it.
Han, you in?
No.
Okay.
She's just going to spend the next
Miami,
3 weeks thinking about Alabama.
Yeah.
So they started playing The Smiths, which is an odd choice for the
this
challenge.
show, yeah.
I like it. I really like The Smiths. I got into The Smiths because Brand New is my favorite band of all time, and Jesse Lacey was really into The Smiths, and so that got me into them. I got to give a shout-out for, in the previous episode, it started off with Tears for Fears, Everybody Wants to Rule the World, and so maybe they're going to do like a throwback like 80s theme for this one. Not sure, but that seems to be the way that they're going so far. And we get into the crater, and I do agree it is one of the cooler looking places we've seen. I wonder if it's that's all man-made or if they kind of found like the side of a cliff and then just built around that. Because it does look like they're kind of enclosed in somewhere. Mm-hmm. So we know CT, and I wrote Fessy, but that is not what I meant at all. Mm-hmm. CT and Ashley were going in, but we weren't sure who Fessy and Anissa were going to pick. And then we got a cliffhanger where Anissa's like, well, if they're going big, I might as well go big. And at that point, we're like, oh, it's going to be Wes and Natalie. Like, we just knew it. But that's the only other team that makes sense. Because that's the most dominating team. Like, Darrell obviously is a 4-time champion, but he hasn't been around in a while. And then
his partner's a rookie.
His partner's a rookie. That's the other thing. I mean, Natalie's a rookie, but Natalie, a lot of people are scared of already.
Yeah.
And so you know it's going to be Wes. And that's exactly what happens. She picks Wes and Natalie, and they go down, and we're like, dang. Because obviously, if you've been listening to us, you know we're a fan of Wes, you know we're a fan of CT.
And knowing that at the time, we're thinking one of these guys are going home.
Which is worst case scenario for the three of us.
Well, because Wes went home early. He did really good on World of Worlds 1, and then 2 went home early. 3, don't remember where he went home. I mean, not 3, but whatever. Total Madness. I don't remember where he went home, if I'm being honest. It was earlier on, though.
It was...
it was about halfway through. It was against Johnny.
Yeah, it was halfway through when he and Johnny went against each other.
And so I was like, okay, we're going to get the Wes and CT showdown. And I was like, it sucks. The other thing that sucks is I was like, dang, we're going to lose either Ashley or Natalie because, 1, I wanted to see more of this Natalie girl.
I really wanted to see more of Natalie.
And 2, no matter how you feel about Ashley, she brings good TV. Mm-hmm. And she's gone home early a couple seasons recently.
Yeah.
And
so has CT. CT's gone home pretty early.
And that's the other thing is like CT, Jeyyy took him out last season in War of the Worlds. He had that 3-way thing with Kyle and JP or whoever it was.
Yeah.
And so...
But won in between there.
Yes. Yeah, he did win in between there. And so it's kind of been like all or nothing with CT. And so apparently, from what everyone's saying... he is actually back in more shape. They said that kind of every season for the last couple times, but I do think he's in better shape this season.
Well, I mean, we saw him in a t-shirt earlier, like a long sleeve shirt, and pretty flat belly there. Well, so he's got to be in better shape at least.
And the thing that Jake didn't watch, the thing on Monday night, he said. He's like, I wasn't in a great place the last few seasons. He talked about a struggling marriage and some things going on. He's like, I've been out of shape, and he's like, I'm in a lot better place now. He's like, the dad bod's gone. He's like, I'm now a fatherly figure. And I was like, there you go. And he does seem like he's in better shape. And for the record, I think him and whatever his wife's name is, I think they're back together now. But
they were separated at this point, though.
I believe so. That's what he made it seem like. And
I think he said they separated.
Okay. And then he, I couldn't remember, and we were just like, man, like this sucks. Like one of these teams is going to go home, and we're not even going to get to really see half of one of them. And I was like, the other one is we're losing either CT or Wes. And then they get down there, twist. It's a woman's elimination. And so we're like, what does that mean? Does that mean that the guys get to hang around? Or does that mean that, oh, well, it's Ashley versus Natalie, and then whoever loses, their partner has to go home too, and they don't even get to compete. And we still don't have an answer for that at this point. That was the cliffhanger.
And the thing we don't want to see is someone go home without actually competing. So whether it's CT or Wes, because they don't get chosen to be Natalie's partner, that's going to suck.
Well, and I just to clarify, because we talked about this, I think, on Instagram, it wouldn't matter who was in the... It wouldn't matter if it was Leo and Liv versus Michi and Gabby, or whoever. I don't remember. I may have got those backwards.
You did get those backwards.
It doesn't matter who it is. We would say no one deserves to go home without getting a chance to to win.
To compete.
Be it CT, Josh...
yeah, exactly.
Any of them.
Like, they should at least get a shot. They shouldn't be like, well, my partner lost this elimination, now I have to go home. And so that's still a thing. That is the only thing negative I have lingering about this episode, because we don't know what's coming. We did see in some previews that Wes and CT are still around.
There's
to some degree
something that looks to be happening apart from the rest of the game.
And we don't know. I hope it's not another redemption house, except that
But it'd be like...
It would be better than sending someone home who didn't deserve because they didn't even get a chance.
Yeah.
But it's not going to be a redemption house, because redemption is based off of losing.
Mm-hmm.
You think it would be like a purgatory?
So, it's got to be. It's got to be something like that.
Where, like, if Natalie chooses to stay with Wes, CT goes to purgatory until the next elimination, which is a guy's elimination. Guy goes home, that female partner comes purgatory, pairs up with CT, and they come back.
Here's the thing. There's 30 people, and there's 10 skulls. Like, they have to, like, cut weight at some point. But I really hope it's not in the way that it could be, which would be the easy way. Like, oh, well, your partner lost, you got to go home. I think a lot of people would be upset. Not just because it's Wes and CT, but just because it's like, dang, like, this
That's
sucks.
not really fair.
And then to find out that you can switch partners and stuff, and so if you're stuck with a crappy partner who loses their elimination, like, that sucks. And so that is my only concern at the end of this episode. Basically, we get an elimination. They called Operation Fire Escape. We've seen this elimination in different ways before. It was, on Battle of the X's 2, or was it 1?
X's 2.
I think it was 2, because
it was Nani
was partnered with Bananas.
And then it was Leroy and Naya, and then Naya wiped the floor with Nani, and then from there Leroy was like shot out of a cannon, and I don't even think Johnny Bananas even got to go because of how fast they went. And the only difference in this is it was, quote, on fire, but it was a level above them, and then there was a hump in the middle. Was that on the other one? We've seen something like this before a couple times. There's basically a welded hump that you had to get over, which takes a lot of core strength, takes a lot of momentum, that type of thing. And, I thought Natalie would have the advantage. She's got a lot of core strength. She's got a lot of upper body strength.
She's a CrossFitter.
Jake's like, Ashley's smaller. She has less weight. And
she's
longer. And so...
She's not no chump.
No, and I will say she definitely tried her best, but she just got caught up on it. And, Natalie won. And I think it does suck that Ashley went home just from a TV perspective, but at the same time, I'm glad it's just her since she got to compete and not
CT also.
Hopefully. That's what we all hope for. So Natalie wins, and then that's when TJ drops another twist. Which, by the way, a couple seasons ago, I think it may have been Final Reckoning, we were like, all right, this is enough twists. These are like twists for the sake of whatever. They're not actually helping the game.
Yeah, just for the sake of having twists.
Yeah, I like all of these so far, just on the record. He says the winner gets to change partners. And so I was like, oh, she's going to get to pick between Wes or CT. And then he's like, or you can pick from anyone else that's up top.
Steal somebody else's partner.
Except for the, quote, double agents, which would be Fessy and Anissa. So, say she wanted to cut ties with Wes. She didn't want to be with CT because they have a mark on it, which, by the way, she's got a mark on her now. Say she teamed up with Corey. So, what does that do with Tori? Does she get Wes, or what happens to CT? Like, that's the thing we don't know yet. And that's the only lingering thing that I have from this episode that I hope they don't screw up.
It would have to be right, because otherwise you're just going down a line.
Yeah.
So
does that make everyone repick? Like, does Tori then get to pick a new partner and it just recycles from there?
No, that would be too much.
I agree.
No, I think if Natalie ends up picking, if she's going to take somebody's partner, it's going to be Fessy.
She can't. He's a double agent.
Oh, was that one of the rules?
Yep.
She can't take
She can't pick from the double agent for the day.
Well, so let's just say, I don't know. Let's say Corey.
That's why I picked Corey. Yeah.
Like then Tori would have to pick between Wes and CT.
I agree, but
unless she just straight up had to take Wes because that was Natalie's original partner.
But then again, we're still back to, does CT have to go home without having to do anything? So we hope that's not the way it goes.
We're just gonna have to wait a week to find out.
By the way, this is Fessy's. He's loving this, that you can change partners, because he's going to get stolen if he's not winning a daily.
Yeah, for sure. But also, I mean, there's no way he's going to be paired up with Anissa for much longer. No way.
No.
Whether it be by his own will or someone else taking him.
I agree. I think there's not a chance unless they just keep dominating and winning every daily.
At that point, he may try to sabotage so that they don't win.
And then he'll be protected to where he just, he can't be taken. But I don't know. I really like this. I think we all really like this season from what we've seen.
So far, yeah.
It seems really solid. I don't mind any of the plot twists unless they screw up the thing with the partners. And, I think it's been a long time coming. We weren't sure when we were going to get another season. We thought maybe earliest would be like February, but they came out swinging. And I'm still assuming the Wednesday, like after Christmas, we're not going to get an episode or something. But we'll see on that. But it's an exciting season. I'm definitely, I don't know what to fully make of it just because we haven't seen everything, but I think so far we're all on board. And if you're new here, what we do at the end of every episode is we do superlatives. Again, Smashing Heads podcast is based on CT. It's going to Smash Your Head and Eat It, which coincidentally is not on CBS All Access because there were some blackface issues in that episode that were not addressed. And so our namesake is not streamable anywhere as far as we know. And so we do superlatives, basically who smashed some heads in this episode. Do either of you want to go first? Thank you for
Everybody's
responding.
looking at me. Okay.
We always look to you for the answers.
Smash some heads. TJ with the partner switch option. Smashed everybody's head.
Jake, what's yours?
You know what? Because she called me out, and it was rightfully earned. I'm going to give it to Anissa for straight up just winning the first daily.
Yep.
I've, just to be different, I was going to pick Anissa if you didn't, just for that reason. Because I think even all of us, we would be like, Anissa.
Well, I had to. Otherwise, Keri was going to cut me.
Yeah.
So.
Yep.
So I'm going to go with Natalie. Like, again, rookie. She's going against a champ. She could have folded, but, she won her first elimination. She's the only person with skull at this point, which
she came out with a bang.
Qualifies you to run TJ's final. That doesn't mean she's safe, but that means she's qualified going forward. So that's my pick. So who got their head smashed?
CT, like the whole episode.
It's not a great look for him in this episode. So
I think you got to go West too.
God, you're taking mine. Yeah.
I mean, those are the two.
Yep.
Why your reason for Wes?
I mean, there's no way he was expecting that. I mean,
Okay.
there was even a confessional where he's just like, what are we doing?
Yeah. All right, so I'm going to go Wes for a different reason. It's because CT threw a shoe in his face.
That's a
Yeah.
good one.
So that's mine. He literally got his face smashed in by CT, who,
Smashed his faces.
smashed his heads. Did you guys think tonight that someone was going to say our name? I think it was either Cam or Ashley. They said either smash some faces or break some heads or something like that. And I was like, man, they're real close to saying our name.
Oh man,
I think someone said smash some faces, and I was like, oh, if she would have said it, if she would have said it, I would have clipped that, and then we could have just been rolling with it
forever.
Yeah. So from there, we're excited going forward. We're going to have some things coming up. Again, patreon.com/smashingheads podcast. But if you stuck around this long, one, thank you for being here. But two, at the end of each episode, we try to give some like personalized things that we're listening to or watching or things like that. We've done movies by the year, we've done TV shows, we've done music, and so we typically since I guess Total Madness have started doing songs, and then we build a playlist on Spotify, which you can follow. And so we're going to do that again this season, and basically just pick songs that we're digging and let you guys listen to it if you want. You can just search on Spotify, Smashing Hits Podcast, and it'll say Double Agents Playlist. And so we'll just keep the same order. And Hannah, you can go from there.
December by Ariana Grande. Christmas is right around the corner. So
Is that off her new CD?
No.
So it's not the sex CD.
No, this song, she has a Christmas album that came out a few years ago.
But is it about sex?
It's not. Well, this song might be, but it's got a good beat and it's real catchy, and I play it in the store a lot. But I mean, leading up to Christmas, probably after Christmas too, for the whole month of December, I will only exclusively be recommending Christmas songs. So there you go.
I don't know a lot about these guys. I just discovered these guys about a week ago. No
Brooks
joke.
I feel like you say this every week.
I'm constantly like...
I listen to my Discover Weekly every single week.
And when I find a song that just hits, I'll put that thing on repeat. When I'm
I
in
do
the
that
gym.
too.
This whole album in general has been great, but the band is called Perspective. Song is called Battlefield. It's just a great song. I don't have a lot of depth as far as like explanation for why it's great, but like when something just hits, it hits. When it slaps, it slaps.
What's better, a hit or a slap?
That's a good question.
Maybe even a clap.
What of the three?
You can clap cheeks.
Mm-hmm. That's a euphemism for...
Yeah. Don't say it. This is a children's podcast.
That's a...
It's a euphemism for what Hannah's song is about.
Sex.
You can't say that word.
So that's fine. So it hits, slaps, and claps. I don't think my song does any of those things.
Okay.
I got to give a shout out to Tears for Fears, since they were on the earlier episode. Tears for Fears, I love everything that they do. They're one of the bands that all of their covers that people do of all their songs are still good because they're so well written. And so I'm gonna go with the song that was on that special. Everyone wants to rule the world. Everybody wants to rule the world. Excuse me. And so that I just got to pick it. Maybe I'll go the Smiths next week, and I'll just be behind by a week every single episode. But we'll see. We try to vary it from here on out. But like I said at the top of the podcast, if you don't already, follow us on social media at Smashing Heads on Twitter, at Smashing Heads Podcast on Instagram and Facebook. We do have a website, smashingheadspodcast.com. We have a web store, smashingheadspodcast.com/store, redirects you to our Threadless page. And then from there, like we've said a few times, patreon.com/smashingheadspodcast is the place that directly supports the show. And we try to do as much exclusive content as we can on there, and then provide perks and things that people would enjoy because, you know, it means the world to all of the people that support us and what we do, because we would be doing it for free, but it makes it that much better that we know people want to come along for the ride.
We got one last thing to do. Fantasy points.
Oh, that's right. This is a new segment, so I'm not used to
it. This is a new segment. So, it's a quick 5-minute segment here.
Go for it.
Can you pull up the rosters?
I've got it right here.
All right, so...
Yeah, I don't remember who all I have on my team.
Here's what I want to ask you
Do
guys.
you want me to run through the rosters real quick?
No, that's okay.
Sure, go for it.
Hannah has Fessy, Kyle, Corey, Cam, Nam, Devin, Nani, Gabby, Amber M, and Josh. She got stuck with Josh. Mm-hmm. I have CT, Nelson, Leroy, Jay, Nicole Z, Natalie, Teresa, Joseph, Amber B, which is Drell's partner, and then I have Big T. Mm-hmm. And then you have Darrell, Wes, Lolo, Ashley, Tori, Leo, Casey, Michi, Liv, and Anissa. Which, by the way, Anissa at 10 probably racked you up some points this week.
So do we want to give for just like for standard nonsensical stuff? Because there's like, you know, a lot of things here.
I'm gonna
just like 5 points or something.
I'm gonna leave this up to you and hope you will be unbiased.
So I wrote down a lot of stuff here. All right. So what do we want to do? Say for...
Have you already added all these up?
No, I've just got a whole list of like stuff So I'm saying, but we want to give a general, like, for a daily win, it's 25 points. For an elimination win, 50 points.
This is your baby.
Okay, all right. So that's what we're going to do. For the they're going to be negative points too. So for each thing, I want you to put a negative or positive beside said person's name. So open that back up.
Oh, okay, I got it.
So first one I have here, I gave points for. This is one of those generic 5-point deals here. First touch in the daily. Who got to the thing first?
Well,
right?
you knew you had Lolo.
Lolo and Michi.
Yep.
Right.
You knew you had.
So 5 points. 5 points to those guys.
You had both of them.
All right. Daily win, we'll give 25 points to for...
You know you had.
Hey, I get 25 points
Anissa
there,
and Fessy.
Yeah, I got you.
All right. Because they won. Now, do we want to give extra points to Anissa for winning? I'm asking. I'm asking.
Just do a small bonus.
I was going to say 5.
Okay.
5 extra points there.
That's fine.
All right. First fight or grudge held, I would give to Cam.
Yeah, which...
Let's do anything fight-oriented, 10 points.
Hers isn't really a fight, but...
But there's definitely angst there.
She was slighted.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
We'll give her 10 points.
Okay.
All right. Again, goofy stuff, right? Anissa just fell on her face at one point during the daily, so I'm going to give a -5 to her for that, because that's just a bad look.
Yeah.
So, see, I'm being fair here.
You lost your points for her winning.
I'm being fair here. I got to give 5 points to Darrell for his mimic of peanut butter.
Who was your number 1 pick?
Right.
These are very slight.
Hey, if you're doing that, then give 5 points to CT because he did that weird announcer commentary voice.
I have that down as 1.
So that's mine.
Okay.
That's the first
Yeah.
points I'm going to get.
All right.
5.
I wrote down commentating skills. CT, 5 points.
5 points. Good team.
I got to give -5 to Jeyyy for the hair thinning.
Okay, that's my team.
That's
So I'm back at 0 now.
Yeah, no, I was going to say that's so mean, don't do that, but yes, do it.
I have to give -5 to Wes for a shoe to the face.
Did CT better get some points for hitting him?
So he gets 5 for hitting him.
Brings
You know
you
what,
back
let's
to
give
0.
10, let's give 10 to CT for that just perfect
Okay,
shot.
so
I don't
you're at
have
5.
No, I don't have Wes.
Who has Wes?
I have
then?
Wes.
He has Wes.
Oh, okay.
So I'm being fair here. I told you
Okay,
guys.
okay.
Let's see. I also have to give. It almost evens out. 5 points to Wes for being a gift for the next 10 years.
Okay.
Because that was a thing. That was a quote.
Yeah.
I have to give -5 to Cam for being rejected by CT, like he was being asked out on a date.
I'm okay with that.
I mean, because that was rough. That was
Yeah.
bad.
It was enough that she's like a woman scorned.
Let's see here. -5 to Big T for not getting her own partner's name
Oh,
right.
okay. Thanks.
Yeah.
Fair.
Yeah, she called
Fair.
him. She called him Jacob, and then she called him John.
Yeah, I know. I didn't want her on my team, but I had the choice between her or Josh, and Hannah did not want Josh for anything, and I was like, I'm going to make her take Josh.
Do we want to consider it a wash, give him 5, or take away 5 for being a Kevin Federline lookalike?
Wash.
Give it to him.
Wash.
I would rather be considered a wash because I'm closer to giving him -5.
Then let's wash it away.
Let's wash it away. All right.
White as snow.
-5.
We're still on the-
-5 for Joseph for falling asleep in the club.
God dang it. You talked up how you're like, man, when I'm tired, I'm tired.
But at the same time, you're in the club, man. You gotta have a good time.
Yeah.
You're passing out.
Okay.
We're gonna give.
You're really screwing my team on this one.
I think emotional stuff is gonna be 10 points. All right, so I'm gonna give 10 to Cam for making us want to cry talking about her mom,
Grandma.
Grandma. I'm sorry. -5 to CT for being lied to by everybody. Okay.
I'm liking these point systems.
Let's see. I gotta give. I gotta give 5 to Leo for the I flip people twice your size quote for a living.
So your team again?
You better have Gabby crying on there.
That's negative. That better
That's
be a negative.
Yeah,
Is
-10.
Dang,
Yeah,
take it
emotional
off now.
stuff. -10.
Do I have Gabby?
Yep.
Dang.
You bit the hand that feeds.
I gotta give 5 points to Ashley for snake earrings.
Yeah, you brought that
She's
up
on
earlier.
your team.
I did. Yeah. Well, she's gone now, so I lose a person there.
Does that count as losing an elimination? Do you lose points?
Yes.
Okay.
So
50
sit tight.
minus 50 points.
So sit tight. First pair voted in, CT and Ashley. They're going to get, what do we think? What's a fair for getting voted in? Negative 10?
15?
I was going to say 10. Yeah.
Negative 10
Okay.
for each of them.
CT's back at 0, by the way.
I gave the Big Balls Award to Anissa for voting in Wes and Natalie, so we'll give her 5 for that.
Okay.
Does that mean Fessy gets 5? Because he also
Well, she
voted.
initiated it. I felt like she led that. Is that fair?
I do think that's true.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm not going to give Fessy points for following suit. I got to give Ashley 5 points for the sexual reference for being bound and
she likes being
gagged.
bound.
So,
Yeah, that was weird.
Let me find Ashley. Hold on. How many points was that?
5.
Who has Ashley?
I do.
Why can't I find her? Oh, there it is.
And the last one here is the elimination win, which
That's going to help me because I'm
50 points to Natalie.
I'm struggling.
Now, is it fair to give the loser
I
negative 50?
wouldn't do negative 50.
No.
Because they have no chance to redeem it.
Can we have a discretionary vote to where if someone is completely embarrassed and it's unanimous between us that they get negative 50? You know what
I'm good
saying?
with that. So,
And we got to be unbiased.
This wasn't an
Okay.
embarrassment tonight.
No, I don't. I agree. That
no,
was
it's
fine.
just-
it was tight because it was neck and neck several times, and Natalie just finally.
I'm
got the
okay.
upper hand.
I'd say negative 25.
Okay. Oh, dang. I thought we were just going to say 0.
Well, I mean, you're just gonna say 0?
Negative 15.
Okay, well, you got to remember that we got to have that as a standard going forward. But it could be negative 15
or
to
negative 50.
You know what? We'll do a negative 25.
Okay, yeah. I was about to say either that or it's going to be negative 15 and then negative 25 for just being embarrassed.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So, do you want to tally that up?
I'm
real quick?
going to just tally up per team. So it talks amongst yourselves.
Man,
I can't remember who else was on my team.
I don't think a lot of your people were involved tonight. I feel like it was primarily
really.
mine and Zach's people.
I had Fessy.
There's a lot of Ashley and CT.
She had Fessy and Cam.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's about the only ones you really had involved.
Yeah. Nom still hasn't really done much.
Now the big thing we have to consider is there's got to be some sort of stake at the end of this, right? Otherwise, this is just goofy. So there has to be whoever wins. There needs to be a good little prize. Like if I win, I want to go on the next trip.
hold on. I'm almost done.
We don't even know when our next trip is.
That's fine. Whenever it is, I want to go.
Okay. So you had by far the most scoring. You had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14.
But a lot of my people were involved tonight.
You had 14 total scores. I had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So you had double the amount of me. And Hannah had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. She only had 5. And so these are the totals.
And I did this like I didn't have the list in front
Yeah,
of me.
I know.
I couldn't remember. So
You knew you had some of them, but Jake, you are coming out with 25 points total
I think considering.
because Ashley losing wiped out Anissa's daily win.
Okay.
And then you had Wes that canceled out. And then you had basically Anissa netted 5 points after you took away the Ashley thing. Ashley came away with negative 25 overall because her positives for the earrings and whatever else, she already had a negative 10 on her.
Gotcha.
So you had 25 total. Hannah had 30.
Oh.
And it's because Fessy's daily win, 25. But then you had negative 10 for Gabby and then negative 5 for Cam. And so you only ended up with, well, is that let me make sure I did that math right. 20, that canceled out. And that, yeah. All right. So she ended up with 30. It's because she had some negatives on her. CT had 4 scores, but they just canceled each other out. It's 5, 10, negative 5, negative 10. And Jeyyy was negative 5. Joseph was negative 5. Big T was negative 5. However, Natalie pulled through for me with 50, and so I had 35. It's 20.
Dude, this is perfect.
It's 25 to
Wow.
30 to 35.
That worked out perfectly.
Right? If she would not have won that daily, she would have ended up with negative 25, and I would have had negative 40 points.
That works.
Wow.
So can I have a hand clap? Like, because I think
You want some cheeks clapped?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think, considering what the score ended up being after week 1,
Yeah.
I think my scoring system worked.
I think
Yeah,
I think
I
it
liked
worked.
it. I think that's fair.
It when you first started listing things off, I was like, this is going to really screw me. But then that 50 at the end pulled through.
Because I'm in last place right now.
You are.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all close. We're all within 10 points.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think this is a fun segment going forward.
Yeah.
Because it kind of gave away what the whole Patreon podcast was about, but that was a video. You only got to see it on Patreon.
Yeah.
So it is what it is. We like doing some weird things like this, and I like having a new segment. So
It's good.
It's fun.
And this is the standard length of a podcast here.
and typically we'll do it before we do all of our plugs and our superlatives and all that. I just
But
kind
you
of
slipped up.
I forgot. I honestly 100% forgot because
Yeah.
it's not anything we've ever done before.
Yeah.
So
That was fun.
patreon.com, like I said, and then I will let you bequeath us with the first of the season.
And it won't be the last either. Have a good night, everyone.